All right. Welcome back. I've been gone for a couple days, but kind of ready to dig back in. So today we're focusing on being able to send emails out from the system using SMTP. So to do that, we're going to have to do a couple of things. We're going to have to add SMTP settings to our email accounts, and we are going to need to add all the screens for sending out emails. For today, we're just going to kind of be taking our first stab at this whole feature. There's going to be a ton of additional things that we need to work with. So one is going to be logging onto the activities list. Second thing will be kind of building out a lot of the extra features. So CCs, BCCs, pulling, using the contact information to be the sending information of who we're sending it to. And then beyond that is going to be setting up template sequences and all that other kind of CRM functionality. But for today, our focus is basically to be able to type in to, from, subject, and the message, and having that show up in our client. All right, so let's get started. Okay. So I'm hopping over here to the manage email accounts section because we need to make a few changes here. So for here, we're going to say the IMAP URL, and in here will be the IMAP port. And for right now, we'll do that. And then we're also going to do the SMTP URL on the SMTP port. So for this to happen, we're going to have to rename those fields and add a few extra. All right, and actually while I'm doing that, let me take a look and see what I've done here for the email accounts. And I'm actually going to copy that out. Okay, so the URL and port are not null. We're going to want to set the other ones to be not null as well. So we'll also have to take a temporary process for that to work. Okay. So if we run this, this should now fail because we've renamed those fields without having renamed those fields. Filling IMAP URL doesn't work. All right, so let's do Rails G migration. Rename IMAP fields. In email accounts. All right, so in here we want to do a change. We want to do rename column, and let's see if I get this right. And we want to change it in email accounts. And this is going to be going from URL to IMAP URL. And we're going to do the same thing for port to be IMAP port. And if we refresh this, yep, that works. Great. Let's run our, and it's going to say it doesn't have those fields, not able to find them, right? So for that, we're going to have to go to the email account form, and this is going to be the IMAP URL and the IMAP port. I will find IMAP URL now. IMAP URL, IMAP port, and I still need to look up and see what the internationalization path is. IMAP URL, that should be filling in. Let me just see what this is doing. Huh. Am I doing something wrong that that's not coming through? Usually it changes that. well, I'm not going to get hung up on that for right now. All right, that was the error I was expecting. SMTP. All right. So SMTP. SMTP port. And now the controller's screaming at us, naturally. Email setting. So we want to update this to be the IMAP URL, IMAP port. Now I was expecting this to complain, but the email account not having those attributes. Form.input. I wonder if the my form builder. So if this is input, method symbol is going in there. So this should be calling essentially form.text field on well, anyways, I know that I need to Rails G add SMTP fields to and this can be to email count, and it's going to be SMTP URL, SMTP port. And if we look at the email activity, the email account, we're going to SMTP URL. All right. Add column, email columns, SMTP port, and it's a string. SMTP port, and that is I think that's an integer for the other one. Yeah. For right now, I'm gonna leave that as not null. I'm not gonna I'm trying to think how I want to do this. So I have those existing fields that are in there, and they are actually that one account. I don't really want to pollute with my migrations right now with stuff that worry about the backwards compatibility. So the problem right now is that I need to put I want to put a not null on here, and a default. I actually don't want to have a default. Actually, I think I can do it. Well, no, I'll just do that for now. But I actually want to check in without a default. Actually, let's do this. What's the change default? Rails migration, change default. Bum, bum, bum. Change column default, that's right. So URL is going to go from nothing to nil. I think that should work. Migration, remove default. Yeah, going to nil should be, I think does it. So this is going to make the default value for these things currently, but then it won't be a default moving forward. Okay. Let's see if I missed anything up. SMTP port. SMTP. Bet you that I make that typo about 100 times. All right. So we have the SMTP URL, the SMT port. Those are not nulls, which is what we want. The content in here. Put some stupid default values in there, so that's fine. Okay. So in our form, if we run this again, we should now get yelled at because we don't have those values in our controller. Yep. Perfect. So we will now do SMTP URL, SMTP port. Perfect. Okay. So I did play around with the SMTP stuff a little bit to see what it was, and all right. Well, that's interesting. Let me. All right, so this is happening because I don't have valid data in there. SMTP URL. I wonder if I can just go to the IMAP URL and copy it over, or if that's going to cause a problem. Let's see. Cool. All right. That's just a migration issue. I'll have to be aware of that when moving forward, but for right now, we think we can still move forward. So I'm just checking my notes. So this is smtp.gmail.com, and the port is 597. So let's update that. All right. So we've got the URL port map. SMTP port is still 0. 587. So we are posting SMTP port 587 updated. Where email updated at is not SMTP port. SMTP port. SMTP port. Why am I not getting that? Browse C email account dot first dot update. SMTP port is 587. That's working. So let's reset that back. Why is that not coming through? SMTP port is in there. Update. Email account's fine. Update params. Email account filtered, password filtered, IMAP URL filtered, IMAP port, IMAP URL filtered, SMTP port is 587. Why are you not coming through? That is super weird. Seven. Email account. I don't get what's going on there. What am I missing? $587, so that is coming through. What if I change this? Oh, no. What? Okay. So if I come in here and I say it is 0, and I take a look at the database, it is 0. And if I look at here and I refresh it as 0, if I make this 587, update, bring it in. Okay, that's weird. Sure. All right, and what I'm going to do is I had manually copied out my password hash, which I think is that. And all right, so we now have all of our credentials for doing that, so that is good. So for the email controller, this is, we can get rid of this. All right, so we're adding the extra keys, email accounts. We're encrypting those things. We're skipping those two. We're adding the extra fields. We are renaming the columns. We are adding columns. We are updating the schema. And we're updating the, all right. So we can go add SMTP fields to email accounts. All right. So all right. So for sending out emails, we're gonna make a new spec for that. Rails GR spec feature users can send emails and let's again grab this stuff. All right. So we've got a user. We're going to log into the account and go into it. Great. And we are gonna create a email account, and let me actually pull up that factory. Okay. All right, so we can go on and create an email account, and this is going to be membership is going to be user.memberships first. And let's just see if this works, because I might be getting, yep, my factory needs to be updated for email account. So that's gonna could be that's gonna be, sorry, IMAP URL, IMAP port, and this is gonna be SMTP URL and SMTP port. And let's see if that works now. Okay, that does, but I want to make sure that I'm putting that there, and that's going to be part of that. I'm just going to update that previous. Okay, so we've got a user, we've got an email account. We're going to make a person. All right, so we're going to click on people, and this is going to probably we need to match first. I might want to make a helper at some point that's like, I don't know, click menu, but anyways, people. So we're going to click on people. We're going to click on new email. We are gonna fill in two with, so this should automatically populate at some point. So actually, let me change that. Oh, I forget the matcher for a field value. RSpec check field value. All right. page dot to have field 2, and that's what, with person dot email addresses dot first dot email, which means that we need to create an email address for them. So create email. And as soon as you get out of the code, things can fall apart real quick. Contactable. It's person. Okay. So page is gonna have that 2 already filled in. Expect page dot to have field from with user dot email account dot so from the email account it's going to be the username. Although I suppose your username and your email address might be different. Something to think about. Right, so fill in subject with test subject. Fill in body with test body. Click on send. Okay, so here's where we're going to want to do some stuff to so I actually want to put, so here if we actually hit SMTP and fire stuff out, that's going to be an interesting situation for the testing purposes. So we don't necessarily want to actually send off the emails. So I actually want to probably put a shim into here that a shim into the system that I can kind of stub out. And yeah, kind of bypass that. So in here, I want to put a shim in place. So I'm going to go expect SMTP shim dot to receive send a message with so we're going to send a message. We're going to get that with to being email address dot email, from being email account dot username, subject being test subject, and body of test body. So this shim doesn't exist yet. So it's going to yell us at that, but this shim is basically going to let us have an interface between SMTP. Yeah. Okay. So let's run this and see where we get to. SMTP shim doesn't exist. Perfect. So let's make it. SMTP shim.rb. It doesn't implement send message, so def self dot send message. All right. And there we go. Ooh, what are you complaining about? I don't remember setting that up. All right, new email. Oh, so that's not gonna, okay. We want to click on person dot full name. There we go. All right, so on the person show page, people show page, we do add note. We want to do add email. So let's change that for a little bit of consistency in the wording, which I don't know if I'm sold on, but we'll see. Add email. This is going to be the new email path, and it's going to be a record. It's going to be person.toSGID. And so what I did off screen actually is some of the stuff with the TurboStream, and this lets me do a pop-up modal, which we'll be probably looking at doing in the next video. So for right now, I'm going to turn that off. All right. And it's going to complain about new email path. Perfect. So resources, emails. And this is going to be only new and create. This is yeah. So now it's going to complain about add email. So this is our activities. That's there's something. Div ID equals new activity links. So in here we can now do within, do click on end. So we have to scope that way we can just target it properly. So now it's looking for an emails controller, which doesn't exist. All right, so let's make our emails controller.rd. And missing template. So again, because we're building out a new section, we have to kind of do a lot of the kind of initial scaffolding. All right. So I don't know if we're going to have an edit form. I don't think we really will. So I'm just going to not be making that form.html.erp for now. And this doesn't really have a model that it's attached to either. So we'll just put in here the URL is going to be the emails path. So it's going to be 2. All right. So it found the, so it's looking for the 2 field. That's got a value of email 1. There are no matches. Also found blank, which matches selector, but not all filters. And actually, we don't really let us take in that value. Yeah, so right now I'm just going to do text field 2. We'll need to do a little bit of stuff with this later. And its value is going to be, so we're targeting a specific contact, so we can say at record.email addresses.first.email. And this is pretty hard coded to it, so we'll have to get there. So it's not complaining about email addresses because record doesn't exist. So we go to emails controller at record equals, and how do we set this up for? Okay. And looking for a from. So for that, we're going to have a similar setup. But this is going to be current user dot email accounts first dot username. It doesn't have that. Right.
So we want to do current membership that we're looking at. All right. Subject. Actually, for this, we can use an input. And for, so in here, we're gonna want to, so now we're looking at a place where I need to do some improvements onto that form builder because it doesn't know how to do a text area. And all right, def create, and I want to see what the params are that I'm getting for this. All right, so in here I'm getting, all right, so 2 from subject body, and that was sent. Okay, so here, I actually probably still want to get that record. So I still want to have that because I want to be where to be redirecting to. So if we go back over here, we can do a form dot. Wow, we'll wait for it to blow up in our face. Okay, so we can do smtp shim dot send message. 2 is going to be params 2. From is going to be params from. Subject is going to be params subject, and body is going to be params body. I'm thinking about this now. One thing that we'll probably have to add into here is an account, the email account that it's using. So that's something we'll have to settle in with later. Okay, so we're going to send that. We're going to grab that record and we're going to redirect to record. So back to that contact. Cannot redirect to nil. Of course you can't. So here we're going to do form dot hidden field record, and that is going to be record dot to sgid. Why are you yelling about that? What does that error even mean? No implicit conversion of string into hash. guess it's doing something different with it. All right. That looks like it is working. Okay. Now we still have a problem that isn't really working because that shim doesn't make any sense. All right, so for that shim, we're just making sure that we're calling it. So really we actually want to get rid of the 2, and we want to have an account. Sorry, we'll be keeping the 2. We'll be losing the from. That's what we want to be getting there. So it's going to be 2 is that. It's going to be account. It's going to be the email account. That looks a little bit better. And this now should blow up in our face in new and interesting ways. Missing keyword account and the here. So we're going to do account is, I don't know. And it's from. So even over here, and then we fill out the from, we're not gonna. Okay, so over here in the new, we're gonna do the same thing here. We're gonna say account is gonna be that. And I have a dog attacking me. Go on. All right, I'm letting the dog out. And so I will be back. All right, the dog has been let out and I'm back. Okay, so where were we? So we can get rid of the from. And we're gonna have an account that we're gonna send along. So we're gonna actually have a picker on this, where we actually will pick which account we're gonna be sending it from. So that's probably what's the best way to go about this. So for right now, account is going to be current membership email accounts first, and we need to load it here. Yeah. And that's going to be set here. Perfect. Okay. So that looks like it's configured right. So now let's go into our SMTP shim. Okay, so in here, now I'm actually going to pull up some of my notes. All right. So with this, all right, so in here we're going to want to create the actual message. So this message is going to be from something to the subject. The subject is going to be subject, and then we're going to put in the body, and the from is going to be account dot username. I think that's all we'll have to do there for creating it. And then for actually sending the message, that's going to be net all right, so for that, we're going to do net smtp dot start. For this, we're going to be hitting account dot smtp URL at account dot smtp port. Our user is going to be account dot username. Our password is account dot password, and our auth type is going to be plain. So this is the block version, which means that it's going to automatically take care of all this stuff for things to go up properly. So for right now, just as the testing, we do smtp.send message, and we're going to send the message, and it's going to go, for this, we are doing from, so we're kind of doubling on that, but that's the way it is. Username, and it's going to. We'll want to be able to do some stuff later on to handle arrays for twos and stuff like that, but for now, just for a basic test, that's good enough. So we can do Rails C. Actually, I'm going to do a quick check of something on a separate screen. I might have cleared out my password, so I'm just going to check that, and it's still set up. Email account. All right. So if we come in here, if we do smtp shim, wow, especially if you can type, dot send message, we're going to do this to the account, email account first. It is going to go to johnbca@me.com, and subject, go test email. Body is going to be, this is my test. It's beautiful. Boom. Email account dot oh geez. So I need to update the SMTP URL to be the correct one, which is smtp.gmail.com. And actually, let me check one thing real quick. So the Ruby net SMTP, and we're looking at start. Oop. All right. So SMTP shim, send message. Da, 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 da. All right. Let's see what this gives us. That looks promising. And hopping over to mail, and ta-da! We have the test email. So let's do another test from the actual GUI. So if I come into here and go to people, Joe Blow has gmail.com and me. Okay, so if we come in here and we go add email, it's going to johnbc@me.com. The subject is this is from the user interface. The body is this text area is very small. Send that, and there we go. So this shows the whole thing working, sending emails from the actual user interface. So this is now up and running with lots of room for improvement, of course, but we do have a working system. We can delete this. Okay. So, all right. So what do we do today? Today we added the SMTP settings. We kind of ported that over. We added the user interface for sending emails from the system, and we got that whole thing working. We're able to test drive things because we put that little tiny shim in place. And what's nice with that shim, kind of to speak on that for a moment, with that shim, so if we use SMTP directly, which we could, it wasn't that complicated. But we have to know what every single one of those parameters are. We have to make sure that we're doing all this stuff right. The SMTP library also gives us a lot of stuff. So we would kind of have to specify what all we're using in SMTP. Additionally, if we ever wanted to change out the library that we're using, then we might have that SMTP code all through the system. So having that shim in place means that we can kind of consolidate all of that into one spot. We can also present a simplified user interface, like programming interface to access it. I really should be doing the same thing for the IMAP stuff as well. It also means that we can test drive all of that. So we could do something really simple where from feature tests right now what we're doing is that we could do a couple of things. Like we could have a net SMTP. We can make kind of a plugin architecture, a simple one, where we have this shim layer that we're using, and it would have a default adapter that it's using, which would be net SMTP. But then we could have something where in tests that's swapped out with something that just collects the information and kind of lets us kind of introspect on that so we can see what we're doing. So this gives us a lot of options. It also means that we're not invoking the cost of hitting the SMTP layer. We also aren't sending you tons of emails that aren't real emails, so our tests aren't having all these side effects that we don't really want to be doing, generally speaking. So that's something that's probably going to be, we can flesh it out more or kind of refine what we're doing with that. But it does give us a really simple way to kind of handle some of those things better. All right, well, take care and have a great day.